She left the safety of corporate America to pursue something more soulful, more intentional. Today, Kelsey Matyas of Kelsey Deidre Designs brings quiet elegance and timeless warmth to the spaces we call home. With a gift for natural palettes and natural materials, her work feels like a gentle whisper of calm. But behind the serenity lies resilience, reinvention, and an eye for detail that turns simplicity into poetry. On this episode, we go beyond the design to the woman behind the brand. Well, Kelsey, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Hi, Craig. Thank you so much. Excited to be here.
Well, Kelsey, if we stepped into your childhood bedroom,
Yes.
What would we see? Did it reflect the designer you would later want to become and are now?
Yeah. So I actually moved a ton growing up. My parents, every 5 years, basically had a new house.
Yeah, same here.
But mine was all in the same town, which was even crazier. I lived in a 1 square mile town. So that was, they basically lived in every house in the town.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, so growing up, I kind of had all different types of rooms. And I think with every year or every room, I would kind of have a longer leash to work on. My mom would kind of let me do whatever I wanted with it, which was really fun. And she worked with designers throughout every house. So I always had kind of that perspective on what this industry was a little bit, even from an early age. So I started... When I was young, my mom hired somebody to paint bunnies around the ceiling of my walls. And I sat in the middle of the room with her at 4 years old and watched that. And then my next bedroom, I had a painter come in and do a custom floral treatment across our built-ins. And I watched her do that. And so it kind of shaped me into this creative that I didn't even know how much... At the time, obviously, I just loved it. And then as I got older, I started designing my bedroom, as a teenager with, of course, like the crazy colors at the time in the early 2000s when we would do hot pink and bright lime green. And that was totally in. And then eventually my last room before I went to college was like all neutrals, which was kind of where I think I started like finding my design style early on, which was pretty cool. So interestingly enough, I kind of back to your question, I guess it kind of did shape me, all of my bedrooms, because I don't necessarily have like one design taste, I would say. I like to cater to my clients and what they're looking for. So that kind of helped me and shaped that in my business. Right.
More variety.
Totally.
Well, sorry about that. who first taught you that your surroundings could affect your mood, your emotions, and even your sense of self? Because color obviously does that, as well as, experiential environment. So was there someone that kind of taught you that?
So not necessarily. I do think, again, it was like back to my surroundings of where I grew up. So I grew up in this small beach town in New Jersey, where super eclectic homes. Every home was totally different. And I think I had the sense of like, I would walk into a house and I had one friend who had this like super gothic modern home that her parents built. And then down the street, I had a house that was a friend's house who lived in like almost a cottage type home, super lived in 100-year-old house. And then another friend down the street had another home that was all this gorgeous, preppy, funky wallpaper and pattern. So I think I grew up with just so many different feelings of different homes. And I think that also really shaped into who I am as a designer. Again, like how I don't stick to one style necessarily.
Mm-hmm. When did you first hear the whisper to leave the corporate world behind? And what did it say to you? Run? Be creative.
Yeah.
Open a new door.
So it's funny. I definitely don't think it was, it was a whisper for sure, but it was a long whisper. It wasn't an overnight decision by any means. I worked in advertising for about 7 years in the city. I went to school for it. I went to Penn State and graduated with an advertising degree. Like, this is what I was doing. This was going to be my career. And I liked it at the time. When I first started, I felt it was creative enough that I was like, okay, this is good. This will be fine. And then as time went on, the glamour and excitement of the job just kind of started fading away,
Right.
which I'm sure happens to other people in their different roles and whatnot.
Right.
But I also knew in the back of my head, I always wanted to work in design. I loved it. I just never thought it was possible because I didn't go to college for it. So to me, I was like, okay, it'll be a fun little thing on the side that I do, kind of thing. And then COVID hit, of course. And when I wanted to potentially leave my job, I also had the job security because I worked in pharmaceutical advertising. So I was like, okay, I can't leave. Everybody was losing their jobs. So I stuck around a little bit longer. And then eventually I had my fiance at the time, now husband, was kind of my strong advocate for me trying to follow my passion. He was like, you're not happy at the end of the day. You're not the fire in your eyes is gone. Go do what you want to do. I will support you regardless, which he did. And I appreciate him endlessly for.
And you married him.
I married him. And we just had a baby together. So he was really my strongest advocate and my driving force into switching into this career. I took night classes at New York School of Interior Design while I still worked in advertising. And then eventually it led me to, okay, this is, a small little whisper that turned into a pulse that turned into a drum beat. And eventually it was so loud that I couldn't ignore it anymore. And I decided to kind of take the leap, and here we are.
Well, it's great to have that support in person behind you to help push you and guide you. Well, your work feels like a breath, a soft, grounding exhale. How do you describe your design voice?
Yeah. It is definitely intentional. I definitely work a lot in neutrals, which you can kind of see throughout my portfolio. I love to mix and layer in a lot of neutral patterns and neutral textures, keeping the home very calm. But interestingly enough, I actually have a client who came to me this year and she was like, hi, I want color. I'm like, okay. And she was like, I want jewel tones. I want crazy. And it's really, really fun because it's definitely, working a new muscle for me. But typically I do work in very neutral, calming patterns and tones, neutral textures, natural materials, things like that.
Well, on that note, you have a beautiful restraint in color choices. What do neutrals say to you that bold ones might not?
So I think the reason why I gravitate in my designs toward neutrals, which you can kind of even see, back here, there's still pattern, right? There's still funk, but again, it's still calming colors. I really believe that, the outside world is crazy. I work in Manhattan mostly. Majority of my clients are there. And I feel like when you come home, you want that really calm oasis, right? You want serenity. You want
to step away, right?
Yeah. And I find when you work with neutrals, it allows for that. It just allows for, I get this feeling.
Right.
I come home when my clients come home. That's why so many ask for it, I think, too, is because they just feel like, this is it's
a reset almost.
Yes, exactly. Yes, completely. But yeah.
Well, how do you approach balance between serenity and personality and between timelessness and trend?
Yeah, it's always the fun play there. But I try to kind of balance it to my point of, keeping whites, but also mixing in color or texture through either the artwork or in their pillows, any accent pieces, essentially, to kind of just keep a nice balance. Or if we want to go a darker tone in, let's say, in a bedroom's nightstands, when everything else is in the creamy neutrals, browns, I try to keep everything as balanced as possible in that sense. Yeah.
Well, speaking about balance, how do you approach balance between serenity and personality, and between time? Oh, I asked that, didn't I? Sorry, we're going to do an edit point right there.
Yeah.
I'm on medication today. I've had this cold for a week, and it's like,
oh no, I was sick last week. I feel you.
Traveling does that to me every time.
Yeah.
All right, pick up. Starting your own business isn't always aesthetic. There's fear, financial unknowns, and risk, especially when you're going from one industry to another. What was the hardest day as a business owner, and what got you through it?
Yeah, I mean, every day's hard. I don't think it gets easier. I just think it becomes your new norm. So you just embrace the chaos a little bit. I do think for me, that initial leap of starting back at zero was the hardest day, without a doubt. The day I decided I'm going to do this, I'm going to leave my corporate job, I'm going to make $20 an hour as a design assistant in New York City, which is just crazy, right? That's bananas, especially today's cost of living and all. And you deal with imposter syndrome every single day. I still do to this day. I'm doing a podcast today. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, wait, I can't do that. I just started my business. I feel like, so I think every single day getting up and just telling yourself, you can do this. You have to advocate for yourself always, I think, as a business owner, no matter what industry you're in, right? You have to be the one at the end of the day to tell yourself, like, today was hard, but we're going to get up and we're going to do it again. And we're going to have a new list of problems tomorrow. And then we're going to have a new list of gains the next day. And so, I think what gets me through it, though, is trying to keep as positive as I can. Again, also my husband. I think having a support system is just, I couldn't do it without him. When I, start spiraling and going into my craziness of, I shouldn't be running a business. I can't do this. Now I'm a mother. I have so many priorities. And he's like, stop, take a breath. You got this kind of thing, which is amazing. And then also, I think, amnesia a little bit. Like, I wake up every morning and I'm like, okay, new day. What's fine? And then, we have our issues and we have our good days, we have our bad days. But I think if you can just try to move past them and forget about it, it just helps to kind of keep the ball rolling. Absolutely.
Someone just said to me recently, each day is a new start. Totally. You don't bring yesterday's problems or issues. Today's a new start. Start over.
Yeah. And you can't, especially as a business owner.
Absolutely. Well, what advice would you give to someone working a 9-to-5 job who's secretly dreaming of more of a creative path like the one you took?
Yeah. I mean, I did it. I think do it, but do it scared and do it hungry. Nothing, and pardon my French, but nothing, lights a fire under your ass more than when, you're unsure of your next meal, right? You're unsure of your next job, your next client. Truly, I think something I always read and stand by is progress begins when your comfort ends, right? We don't grow from when we're in our comfort zone. We don't get better. So
very true. Yeah.
I'm very big on, if I'm not scared, I'm not becoming better. I'm not improving by any means. So, I would say that's probably my biggest advice is just do it and do it scared and be okay that it's going to be a really long road and you're probably going to hate a lot of the days. And then also you have to advocate for yourself as somebody who wants to go down a creative path. And if they do want to work for themselves, you have to be your biggest advocate. You have to believe in yourself. You have to have imposter syndrome to know that, you are the best at what you do, and this is only you're going to offer something that nobody else can.
True. Yeah. And I think you have to have the ability of being criticized.
Yes.
Not so much a thick skin, but the ability to be a risk taker and challenge yourself.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Well, let's talk about design and intention of design. When designing on a budget, where should someone always invest, and where can they cut corners?
Sure. So to start, I think something that is misconstrued because there's a lot more access nowadays. Oops, sorry about that.
Mm-hmm.
We are in the business of luxury, right? This isn't while we do work within budgets.
Correct. All right.
We're not bargain shoppers. At the end of the day, I'm sourcing and purchasing what will look best. And I'm not necessarily, I keep within, if your budget is $30,000 for your room furnishings,
Mm-hmm.
I keep that in mind, obviously. But that doesn't necessarily mean I am going to look for, the cheapest chair possible, and we're going to save you 20% on that kind of thing. So always keeping that in mind, because I do find that there's so many ways of, you're going to save money, but that's not necessarily true. At the end of the day, we're trying to just create the most beautiful space for you.
Right.
But around that, regardless though, I will say, I do think when it comes to thoughtful spending, the bigger elements in your room, the ones that are really going to show for in your room, is going to be either, if it's your living room, your sofa, a beautiful rug, or your lighting, these really beautiful elements that I think are going to be showstoppers, are worth spending on always. And then I think there's ways, not necessarily cutting corners, but finding a balance from a cost perspective can be on the smaller details, right? Like your side table maybe doesn't need to be some crazy element in your room, especially if your coffee table is like, the showstopper. You can go and purchase something at a better price point for your side tables or your decor items, things like that. But I do think, you should always have at least one or two elements in your space that really speak, and they're worth the investment. And I find lighting is definitely one of them. I always find
True.
You can find a unique piece that's the jewelry of your home,
Mm-hmm. The anchor pieces, I think, are the focal points.
Absolutely. Yep.
Well, color can be intimidating for many people. What's your favorite way to add a pop of color without disrupting harmony, especially given your aesthetic and your path of what you provide to clients? How do you give that? Yeah,
so I usually prefer, not necessarily, it depends on the client, I will say. So some want crazy, funky wallpaper, and I'm all for it. I think it's so much fun. But if you're a little bit more conservative with your bigger pieces and things that aren't so permanent, I like to bring in color either through the artwork or through the throw pillows or throw blankets, decor pieces. Again, things that can be swapped out too.
Right.
If color seems a little intimidating, try it out. And if you hate it, you can change out the pillowcase, on your sectional if you want to. So that's usually where I like to add it. And again, those can even be seasonal things too, right? That's usually my go-to.
Well, you've said wall treatments can transform a space. What's one underestimated treatment you wish more people would embrace?
I think millwork. Whether it's, a custom built-in or even just wood paneled walls. It's so architecturally appealing. When you walk into a room, it immediately that room, everything about it, that becomes the focal point. It adds depth. There's rhythm to the room. There's, it just adds so much beauty. And I think people find it either as, if my place doesn't already have it, I don't need to add it. It's because it's costly, right?
Right.
That's usually a bigger ticket item. but I wish people didn't see it as an add-on, and more so it needs to be like the foundation of your space. It just very quietly elevates everything. So yeah, I definitely think millwork is probably one of those.
What is one item or finish you find yourself returning to again and again, and why?
Unlacquered brass, I would say. It's a living, breathing item, basically. So it patinas over time, right? It tells a story, which I think is fantastic. And the patina to it is so beautiful, whether it's brand new. I actually don't even love it brand new because I think it's too bright. I prefer it when it's...
Give it a little age.
Yeah, like fine wine, right? Everything ages better.
Right.
Yeah, I think it just tells a really pretty story. I have, for example, actually, we purchased our home here in New Jersey last year, basically a year ago. And it's a 100-year-old home. It was built in 1925, and all of the hinges and the knobs are original in our house, and they are unlacquered brass, and they're very worn. And our knobs stopped working on some of the doors, and I actually had my father-in-law come in and repair all of them. He took every single door apart because I was like, I'll never get these again. You know, like I don't want new. I want old. I want the character. So yeah, it's something that I try to use in projects a lot if it makes sense, because I just think it's something that totally tells a story over time.
We live in such a fast pace, I want it now, quick and easy, fast furniture world.
Yeah.
Why does designing for longevity mean to you?
So, I mean, obviously, I think durability is super important. Like the way fast fashion is cheaply made, fast furniture is cheaply made. The material just isn't great. But also I like to design for longevity in the sense of like, you know, the emotional endurance towards the items. So I like to always ask my clients, you know, will you like this piece in 5 years from now? Does this still feel authentic to you and your family and your design choice? Or do you just like this because somebody on Instagram told you like this kind of thing, right?
I need this type thing.
Exactly, right? We're just pushed with so much, oh, hey, right now we like curves and then tomorrow we like straight edges, right? So I always ask my clients, I'm like, think about what you liked 5 years ago and what you like today and what will you like 5 years from now, and make sure that stays consistent throughout, you know? So I do think that's how I try to measure. Longevity too is just not necessarily just in like the makeup of the item, but also is that something that feels right for you and your family?
Do you believe or think that a home evolves with over decades, or should it?
Definitely. Yes. I don't think, well, obviously, you know, everybody hires the designer and is, you know, like, okay, I want to do this once, I want to do it right. And that's totally true. I think the same way that people are, we change, right? Over time. We're not changing tomorrow, but you know, in 10, 15 years from now, you're a totally different person. You know, your core makeup stays the same, but things about you change. And I think that that's the same with your home. You know, your sofa, if we're talking about longevity, if we're sourcing a really high quality sofa that's going to last you, you know, 15, 20 years even, which they can, that can stay, but the elements around it can definitely change. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. And I'm still a little bit newer to the business, but I've worked with other designers who they had repeat clients, you know, who would come to them 10 years later and they'd say, hey, still love the bones of our home, but I want to change this room. I'm really into a deeper tone. You know, everything's white and we want to go a little bit moodier now. And that's great. As long as I think the foundation is there, you know, the design around it, the decor items, things can change and it's still uniquely yours.
True. It changes with your personality, your environment, and you know, your kids go away and you don't need everything protected. And
well, that's the big one too, right? Yeah. Everybody, I feel like a lot of my clients are a little bit younger too. They're still in their, they have kids who are from either a year old or less to 10, 15 years old where they're still making a mess, right? And they want the really durable pieces, which is totally valid. I even say, even if you're single, you should still be durable. We're spilling wine on our rug, kind of thing. But I do think that that's a big element too, is people want what makes sense for them at that moment in life. But then obviously when your kids go to college, things change. You're like, okay, now I might want to do the silk rug that I couldn't do when I had, my 14-year-old being silly playing video games, sitting on it kind of thing. So that's also how things change totally in homes. And that's not a bad thing.
No, not at all. Do you consider yourself an extrovert or introvert or extrovert? And how does that shape your work?
Yeah. Definitely an extrovert at heart. I just naturally gravitate toward collaboration, and I love to work hand in hand with my clients, which I think is big on, me being out there and open. Right. I love to have conversations with them, talk about experiences, get to know them from a personal standpoint, because I think that shapes how we design their home, right? It's the most personal job, without a doubt. I'm in my clients' homes every single week. I see how they live, how they treat their children, or how their children treat them, how their husbands react to them in certain elements and things like that, and vice versa. So I think I love that part about my job is, reading people's energy and understanding and translating like their stories into their spaces and making it very personal for them.
Most creatives, I would say all creatives, from artists and craftsmen and even writers, have creative blocks sometimes, Yeah. How do you handle creative blocks? And do you have rituals that bring you back to center?
Yeah. So when I have the time for it, I think travel is always the best for a creative. Just going somewhere new, taking in new perspective, new architectural elements in somewhere completely different. How certain cities are using design choices and material choices. That for me is always important. I mean, I obsess over it to the point where my husband is like, oh my gosh. No. He's like, eat your meal. Don't look at the tabletop that we're like,
You
can't.
are a designer.
Totally. Oh my gosh. I'm almost to a fault. It can be almost all consuming, but, when I have the time, travel definitely helps with that creative block, without a doubt. And then if I don't have the time, I love to run. I love to go on jogs. That clears my head completely. And now that we live out here in New Jersey, we used to live on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. And I would run through Central Park and, just take in the greenery because we don't have much of it there. Now I love to run through the neighborhoods here because we live in this old town. It's in Maplewood, New Jersey. And every single home is different. Everything is 100+ years old here. Every single house is completely its own entity. It's so cool. Like you're not seeing one doorway that looks like the other.
Right.
So when we moved out here, that was a new kind of way for me to be able to take in new elements. I think was just going running and taking in the whole neighborhood, and I'm always inspired by it, which is very cool.
What's the most personal design decision you've ever made in your own home?
Yes. So I had mentioned earlier, we had a baby this year, or I guess technically last year, November. So he's 7 months old. My son, Pierce, I designed his nursery, and that was, as personal as it gets, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I made sure that it was not only a sanctuary for him, but also for me selfishly, because I would be spending so much time in it, right? I needed it to be really soft and calming, and which it is. We did this gorgeous Philip Jeffries woven tweed wallpaper. It wraps the room and it's just gorgeous. And I just really needed some place that felt really grounding. It was a very chaotic time. It still is. Having a baby as a new mom while running a business is
It's a lot of balancing.
It's a lot. Yeah. I've been learning and just kind of flying the plane. Or what's the saying? Building the plane as we fly it.
Right.
But yeah, so that was the most personal design I've ever done and probably will ever do. And it's my absolute favorite room in this house.
Well, you work with clients to help them create homes that feel deeply themselves, which it should be. It's about their personality, their lifestyle, and things like that. And you become very connected, and personal relationships are built when you have residential clients.
Yep.
But how do you stay connected to yourself in that process?
In terms of while I design their homes,
Mm-hmm.
like having some of my design show through.
Correct.
I think by bringing in some of those neutral elements, I think is really me. Again, I have this client in Financial District, and she's like, I want jewel tones, I want color, I want everything. And I kind of talked her into, okay, we don't want it to look like, it can look like a fun house. That's great. Do whatever you want to do. If you want this to be the circus, let it happen. But I think I kind of helped to guide her and show through with my design a little bit of the elements of, okay, let's keep maybe the walls at a warmer white tone. Mm-hmm. Breaking up some of the color. We can speak through. The rugs can be pink and that's fine, but let's keep everything else. Like the millwork is a nice white neutral as well. Because she has these funky books and decor items and things like that. So I think I just try to kind of not necessarily coach, but allow my clients to understand how important balance is. And that's through, I think, just bringing in neutral tones without getting too crazy, or also without it feeling too sterile either.
Tell us a little bit about some of your current projects.
Yeah. So I know I keep mentioning this Financial District one. So that's my really fun one this year, which I'm very, very, very excited about. And then I am working on a project up in Rye, New York, for a client who has over 100-year-old home, absolutely gorgeous, stunning bones, which is super fun. Mm-hmm. And then I have a few other clients throughout the city as well. Some in Tribeca, some in Battery Park, a lot of downtown ones. And then I'm taking on a few new projects in my new hometown in Maplewood, New Jersey here, which are also really fun because, again, like these homes are just so old that you're working with these gorgeous elements that I don't have to bring the millworker in necessarily because it's already here. Yeah, which is really fun. So we're just basically enhancing everything, but the foundation's there. So
since you're somewhat new to the industry, how do you market yourself? How do you get yourself out there, and how do clients come to you?
Yeah, so I definitely am big on networking. I've joined a few different women's groups here out in New Jersey. When I worked in the city, I was part of Interior Design Society. So I would go and network at those events and just meet others. And honestly, a lot of it too, a lot of my, everything I do is word of mouth, basically. Mm-hmm. So, my first client that I had in Battery Park, who has been truly the best possible client I could have ever asked for. She puts my name out there constantly, and she tells every family, friend, etc. about me.
Word of mouth.
It's the best. It's free advertising, which I appreciate. And I've learned that those relationships are critical. Mm-hmm. No matter who your client is, you never know where the next project's going to come from them. Sure. So
absolutely
great.
What are you most surprised about yourself as you took this new journey?
Oh, that's a good question. I am most surprised at how good I am at convincing myself that I can do it all. Because if you look at my laundry list of things that I need to do, you'd be like, there's not one all of that. Especially now, I think with becoming a mother has been like the craziest journey of it all. And I say to everybody, I have 2 children. I have my baby and I have my business. My business requires just as much nurture and care. But I think the challenge and also the reward has been, finding that balance this year, especially knowing that I can do both, which is really cool. I didn't think I could. And I've definitely learned, that things can get done, but also we're not saving lives here and things can wait till tomorrow too, right. And just learning how to prioritize what's most important, whether it comes from the design side or my personal side, and kind of just, again, taking everything day by day.
If your design work could whisper a message to those who live in your spaces, what would it say?
I think it would say, I'm home. I keep touching on it, but I do believe that your home should be a personal reflection of yourself and nobody else. It's what you're coming home to every single day, and it should feel just like you. And I hope and I strive for all of my clients to feel that way when they walk through their door, that this is them, this is their family, this is all those moments in their life that are kind of, packed into one small space or big space. I think as long as my clients feel like they're home and whatever that means to them, at the end of the day, I feel like I've succeeded in my designs.
What legacy do you hope to leave behind, not as a designer, but as a woman, an entrepreneur, a creator, a dreamer?
Yeah.
Pierce's mom?
That's a good question. I hope that I leave behind that anybody can look at what I've built, big or small, and say, I can do it too. I think something that's really important to me as a business owner is setting that standard for my children, to know that you can do it all, but also it takes a village, and knowing that too. I hired the right help to make sure that I could maintain what I do. And my husband can go to work every day too. And we have the luxury of both, starting a family and working. But yeah, I think it's super important for them to have others be inspired by what I am doing, and my personal drive that I can keep going and get through every single day as hard as it can be. So I think, just knowing that it's a crazy road, but
right.
it's doable.
Is there a particular project that you want to do that you haven't yet?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. If you scroll through my Pinterest, you'll find everything I want to do. Honestly, right now, my personal home is my biggest project. And we have a lot of renovations that are on the horizon for our home, which is really fun. We need to add on a bathroom for our master suite here. We have to expand our kitchen. It's a laundry list of things that my husband's we'll do this in 2050. Thank you.
Yeah.
But my personal home is definitely what I think it's so amazing to be able to show exactly, if this is my dream client, like I want to be my dream client, right? And I want to show exactly what I love through my own personal designs. So my home being that kind of showcase is really cool. So I'm excited for that future.
Is your home the test?
Totally. Oh my gosh, totally. It's so funny. We crack up. I have an ottoman for one of my chairs in my living room, and it's been swapped out 3 times because I'm like, it's just not right. It's not right. And we have like floating ottomans around our house. I'm testing. I was like, I'd rather be the one testing this than my clients,
Right. True. Yeah.
So I kind of like I sit test essentially for all of my pieces. And then if I love them, I recommend it to my clients or that brand. So I've gained a lot of relationships with new vendors by working in my own home, which is really cool.
So what's next for Kelsey and also Kelsey Deidre Designs?
Next is just kind of continuing where we are. Definitely still trying to find that balance of mom and design. But we have a lot of really exciting projects coming up. We are kicking off in the fall a gut renovation on the Upper East Side of a kitchen and several bathrooms, which is really exciting. I'm excited to do a kitchen. I think that'll be really, really fun. And yeah, just continuing to grow. I'm getting so busy, which is great and I'm realizing that my laundry list of things that I need to get done is getting a little too long. So I'm hoping to bring in some help and hire in this upcoming year, which is really exciting.
So your main focus as you started was New York City, Manhattan, and as you continue to expand into New Jersey, are you looking to do potential projects in Connecticut or Eastern Pennsylvania? Or
I'm not opposed. We'll go wherever the world.
Go anywhere.
Yeah. I'm doing a project down in Florida, down in St. Augustine, Florida. There's a nice beach cottage there that we've been working on, which is really fun and exciting. It's such a different element of design than what you do here. Everything's light blues and ocean, and it's really cool. So we're using, really interesting marbles down there and stones that we probably wouldn't use in a 1925 century home here, But yeah.
Well, Kelsey, is there anything else you want to add or share with our audience today?
No, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
It's been so great getting to chat with you for the past hour.
Well, I have one final question for you. When do you feel most at home?
That's a good question. I feel most at home so I grew up on the beach at the Jersey Shore. So definitely when I'm at the beach that's my happy place. But and I eventually would love to move down there. But my husband he's pretty stuck on living up here, which is fine. He's Canadian and he's not a beach guy. He's a lake guy. So we always have that feud in our house. So I feel most at home when I'm at the beach for sure. But then obviously now that we've made Maplewood our home, I just feel so at home when I'm now with my family, with my husband, my baby, my dog. When we're all together walking around the neighborhood is just like, there's no better feeling on like that Sunday night walk. Oh,
yep. Can't compare to anything.
Nope.
Well, Kelsey, it's been such a pleasure to have you on our show today, and thank you for taking the time, and much continued success to you as you continue onward your journey.
Thank
Absolutely. You. Well, you take care, and we'll chat soon.
Sounds great.
All righty. In her world of whites and woods, of warmth and whisper, Kelsey Matyas reminds us that beauty doesn't shout, it lingers, it softens, it invites. She's built a brand on grace and a life of courage. And as we've discovered today, there is power in choosing a quieter kind of bold. Until next time on Beyond the Design.
Hi, you're listening to a Pod for Good Media Network podcast. We are a network that provides podcasting production services and a supportive community in which podcasters can thrive. If you're a podcaster local in the Tulsa area, we would love to have your show on the network. If you are interested in starting one, we would love to help you get started. Find us online at podforgoodmedia.com and fill out our Pod With Us form. Happy podcasting.